It was prepared with Alex Samorukov from Czech Republic, but he failed to come to our meeting. But actually, the name of our presentation is a bit different. It's quite strange that some of those present here feel quite energetic and passionate about this. I will try to share the experience of Russian Federation that has blocking on the internet since 2012 officially. And as we heard this today, any state would like to protect its citizens this or that way. There is illegal or illicit content in view of any state. We will not discuss very hard and difficult cases when there is a state monopoly, when there is non-democratic regime, but let's take any European country like Russia. But in the beginning, I would like to remind everyone how internet developed. It was used to be the simple network and agile edge to ensure survival in case of the nuclear explosion, for every packet of data to find its path, for the device not to be lost inside the network without thinking what they transmit, just the packet of data would go further on. And therefore, these matters of reliability, they were very important. An important aspect, because now many people do not remember this, and based on these principles, that these are the values or principles for the development of internet in the Russian Federation. It has been developing for a long time without proper attention from the side of the government. Internet was successfully developed without attention from state and regulations, but internet became one of the powerful media to be ignored by the state, and suddenly the state started to notice it. The reasons why different regulatory acts were adopted, but I would like to update you what we got eventually in the result. For our youngest viewers, I would like to explain how the regulatory legislation looks like and Russian content blocking for children in pictures. On the right slide, on the right picture, if you do not have children, there is a princess from the fairy tale 12 months, and she adopted a new environmental law. She wanted to get snowflakes, snowflowers in wintertime, but the regulation is the following. We are looking in those places where it is light, but not where something which we do not need is located. Russian content blocking provides for the blocking, and it does not matter how it shall be done. Content must be blocked no matter how it's possible, and let's block content where we can regulate it. Even though there shall be licensed companies, no consultations with the industry or a simulation of these consultations. And the panel, the session which we had today about prerequisites blocking, you were said that there shall be public consensus with regard to which information is to be blocked. There shall be a competitive basis. Russia doesn't have this. And most strangely or funny that since the year of 2012, it's like a wave-based process. They try to block something. They try to introduce something new. For example, now they seriously discuss we started to block the prostitution promotion, then there is a blocking of the way to override the blocking methods. The situation evolves, and we will see what we will get eventually. But again, thanks a lot to our sessions, which detailed that Roskomnadzor, the supervisory authority in telecommunications in Russian, has the content registry, illegal content registry, and there are non-transparent procedures for maintaining this registry, where there are less transparent, the executor can interpret it the way it likes. Really doubtful technical measures used. There is no opportunity to observe from the side of the public or human rights protection organizations. For example, there was a question, how do the resources get into the registry that were blocked subject to the court judgment? And they get there after 2 or 3 months after the judgment is issued, and the period of appeal is expired and you cannot do anything. So it's very difficult to get out this content from this registry, illegal content registry. The supervisory authority provides these recommendations. Initially, early 2012, they recommended to block with the method used in the Europe on DNS, provided DNS, and no responsibility was there. Through some time, this liability for operators was introduced for poor quality blocking of this illegal content, but I will detail it a bit lower. Of the specific vendor, for example, sometimes it can happen. And on the internet, we have the content, supply of this content, transit, and the final user. And this blocking will affect all the directions available. For an important thing is that my colleagues may regard it as a political issue, but I believe that content blocking in Russia is executed by the operators on their own. This Russian supervisory authority can recommend this blocking, meaning that the operator shall pay the costs of this blocking. And accordingly, network operators in all these areas try to minimize monetary costs of blocking. So this report is which headaches we have. It is quite painful. And why? It's painful. It's really painful because the network was constructed not to block anything. The idea is the fast supply of content and the cheap devices, and therefore the prices for internet are quite affordable recently, and accordingly, like operators tried to work, network is not designed to do blocking, block at recursive DNS. Then they tried to block by packet filter, but it is quite expensive and costly. After the emergence, Philip told us about the filtering of something. Firstly, the operator tries to pass it through proxy, DPI, not the whole traffics, but some suspicious angles or packets for further investigation that generate suspicious traffic. But we saw the presentation of Phil, about 60,000 addresses, about 60,000 prefixes. That is the whole Russian traffic. If you are a small operator, you have some local traffic, and your derouting equipment must be very expensive. By 10%, the equipment of the Russian operator shall be more powerful than any other operator's equipment. The technical damage which is caused by this system of blocking network is no longer simple. So you must understand from the beginning that you will have to filter something. DNS, resolution interference, it requires more powerful network devices required, because if you block, fully block your address, or you investigate it in detail, your network equipment required DPI. Artyom had a great presentation about DPI, but I believe he was scared of this political context, and he does not focus. If you are a transit operator deploying DPI, you will have to restart the user accession up to 4th, 7th protocol, so the devices shall be very powerful. Computational power plus active users, number resources to be blocked. So all these are all those parameters to be taken account. And again, it is very, very expensive. And there will be more points of rejections and more points of failure. And basic principles of internet are broken. If you restart, restore the protocols or add something else, very strange hacks can be used. And the second principle is this conservative the conservative message that these basic principles of internet are broken. They do not work anymore. More expensive equipment, less money for development, more administrative procedures to follow. Approach Phil, he is a small Russian hoster or read his articles on the internet. He is very passionate about his dealings with the Russian supervisory authority. He was modest to share his experience, but ask him, and you will learn a lot, again, because of this untransparent supervision procedure. The risk of fines, because of this untransparent supervision, the procedures are not transparent, and the fine is about 1,500 euros, and business risks are vital. Some markets are lost. We know that there was a good example when Ukrainians could not get the Ukrainian websites which were on the war conflict with Russia, because it was blocked, it was filtered on IP transit. And even Kyivstar did this. And the market was lost, and quite unlikely that someone else would like to buy this, to acquire this filtered traffic from Russia. There were at least 2 waves of the abuse of the registry to block some other operators' resources by DNS resolutions at the start and after introduction of fines. This is a slide about Hil Kulin, who suffers from the administrative procedures by RKN. He didn't share that, but you cannot withdraw your IP address from this registry. So the reputational damage is also vital. At present, the European Human Rights Court tries a few cases of collateral blocking, censorship-like blocking, non-visible blocking of some websites of some media. Wikilink was also, LinkedIn was also blocked in Russia, abuse of power, because they do not use some contact details of their users, and Facebook was warned to get prepared for the next year. Users can avoid if they want, but resources can dodge if they really want. But most importantly, that there is no proof of blocking effectiveness. Quite recently, an old report of the Council of Europe that copyright blocking are not effective at all from this regard, from gay identification in terms of no evidence of gay identification decrease, no evidence of drug consumption decrease, and no evidence of copyright holder profits increase. In order to reach the organization which are non-licensed, this supervisory body introduces quasi-licensing for internet actors, registry of personal data operators, registry of internet intermediaries, bloggers, registry of new aggregation services in order to make them be compliant with their regulations. And the latest update, hot update, it is not the hottest update, the latest one. So this text in Cyrillic alphabet, that is the name of the resolution of the supervisory authority about the way how these search systems have to cooperate with the supervisory body to withdraw the recommendations about the prevent of override of this blocking. So those that are in this industry, they will have to be compliant with that. So the hottest news, daily they invent something. 1 week ago, Roskomnadzor discusses order on how blockage should and shouldn't look like. So if a user is blocked, what it can still show, because normal providers say that the resource is blocked and you can see it this way, but now it is not possible. It shouldn't look like this. And the hottest update for today, that the central bank and the General Procurator's office try to block websites on cryptocurrencies. And you may believe it's funny, but there is a user which says, this is Kantian girl, she is a bad behaving girl. A short update about Ukraine. Poroshenko imposed a sanction list against a number of companies, addition to economical sanctions, and some of the data on them shall be blocked. At least there is no requirement to block, because there is a split in the society. Some do not like Russia because of this conflict. Others are not willing to block. But the situation is not easy because there is no licensing. There are industrial associations quite powerful, and hope will be able to resist. But artwork is already there. So the Russian supervisory authority with the Ukrainian supervisory authority discussing how they will block it further. Whether the situation is the same everywhere. Alexei make a good overview. Everywhere like this, no. There are no fines imposed on the operators for poor quality blocking. The proposals, the conclusions, some industrial unification or task force to be established. But after listening to me, I believe you will understand that it is not possible to establish an industrial working group or task force on blocking from the technical perspective. Otherwise, it would be like a task force of wild guys that discuss at one medical conference the way how they will eat people. States, regulators, supervisory bodies does not understand and does not want to understand how internet works. It's time for us to come out of our comfort zone of technical community. These fish look like nuclear bombs.